Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is Pastor Roland checking in to see how you're doing. Hope you're doing well. If you're not doing so well, you've come to the right place because I've got resources here, which I've been developing now for 25 years. 25 years on the radio. And I remember a long time ago, people used to respond more on the radio than they do now. People still respond, but not as much as before. And I was in San Francisco, and I used to have little seminars. I would announce it on my radio program, and people would come. My wife had a little office, a nice, well, not little, just an office, because she was a real estate broker. She had a nice little office, so we fixed it up, got the chairs all lined up properly and everything, and people came to the seminar. It was very nice. Very nice, because the people who came were mostly searching people, sincere people, okay, and people that had the issues that they knew somehow that God was the answer to, okay, and so it was very nice, okay. Well, so I'm not having seminars right now. It'd be nice if there were enough people who could come from all over the world, but right now, not quite yet. But I have these little video lectures or talks. Actually, they're talks, conversations. Okay, and so these are almost as good. Not quite, but maybe almost as good, because you can see me and hear me, and glean some benefit from these. Now, today I want to talk about meditation. I want to talk about the importance of the Christian meditation that I have. It's very special. Now, why is the special meditation that I have so important? Because it teaches you basically how to get out of negative thoughts, where most people are. See, we spend our time lost in our thoughts. When we're younger, our thoughts are like pipe dreams, fantasies of the future and so on, along with angry fantasies. Okay, but as we get older, we get more and more. We drift into thoughts, because what happens is we fail in reality. We fail to meet the moment with patience, with wisdom, with virtue. We react to temptation. See, we oughtn't to be reacting to temptation. We ought to see it. There it is. Observe it, but not react to it. You see? But we react to temptation. And then after having reacted to temptation, it's hypnotic. Temptation is hypnotic. Sin is hypnotic. Failing is hypnotic. We fall away from awareness into a hypnotic state. So what happens is our body just naturally, our mind just naturally goes from the failing immediately into imagination. It's an escape. And then you sit around and think about what happened. Why did she have to say that to me? Why did he do that? I should have said this. Next time I'll say that. See, we relive the moment, often with the emotions that we had at the time: resentment, anger, upset. Or we add emotions as we relive it. Now we resent having to see our failure, and so on. So there we are. So more and more, and then it spreads. See, then eventually everything becomes hypnotic. See, we get pulled in by something, entangled in something. Okay, and then it becomes a hang-up. See, first you get caught up. First it captures your attention. Then eventually later it becomes some kind of a hang-up. So we oughtn't to be having our attention captured by things. We ought to be able to go through life like a boat through the water, just skimming on the surface, and things don't get in. All that stuff on the outside should just stay on the outside. Okay, so you need help, because over the years, beginning when you were a little child and people upset you and teased you and so on, You've gotten in the habit of failing and then hiding in daydreams, pipe dreams, in imagination, fantasy. And of course, we use music and marijuana, or we escape into movies and music. See what I mean? But the main thing is the escape into away from reality. Okay. So we fixate to things. So what's to be done? Well, reverse the process. Be closer to reality, aware, and then in your aware state, you're less likely to, because you have awareness, you have some insight, some composure, some calmness, reason, all these wonderful things that come from being close to reality, close to the light, close to God's light. I'll get to the spiritual part in just a moment. See, it's a very spiritual meditation, but it's very practical too. Okay, so the closer you are, the less likely you are to fail or fall. Okay, but you still won't live life perfectly. There'll be little mistakes that you'll make. Okay, but then now you will, because you have some mental distance, you'll be able to observe the mistake, observe your failing. Okay, without resenting it, without resenting seeing it. You'll simply observe it. Okay. And you won't have to escape into the thoughts. Or if you do find your mind just automatically escaping into thoughts, escape fantasy or whatever, then you'll notice that and you'll snap out. You'll be back in reality again. It'll help you to not fall into those kinds of states. Extended flights of fantasy, extended morbid states, extended depressions, extended unhappiness, extended worry. It'll help you to not fall into those kinds of states, and instead to fail less. And then when you do fail, to perhaps fall into thought a little bit, but then snap out. So you'll snap out. You'll snap out. Okay. You'll be in reality more, lost in daydreams less. Okay? Now, but here's the point, and that is that when you come back to reality, and you're not lost hypnotic, you're not in a hypnotic state, you're awake and aware. Okay, see, animals are awake, but human beings can be both awake and aware. For example, the animal can see, but a human can see and perceive. The animal can hear, but the human can hear and understand. Okay? So animals are awake or asleep. Awake or asleep. The animal's awake. But when you are awake, you can also be aware. Now let's talk about that. Okay? So now, let's say you begin to practice the meditation that I have a little bit, and you become more awake, less lost in daydreams. You will also be close to awareness. And when you are in reality, and you no longer resent the truth, see, you no longer resent seeing that you failed. Resent it so much that you escape from seeing it and don't want to admit it. See, now you see the failing, but you see it from an objective viewpoint. See, before you could only see your failings as an ego. Then you got bummed out and resented yourself and got angry and rolled up your sleeves and tried to improve yourself, and all these things didn't, and none of them worked. Okay, but now instead of looking at it from an egotistical point of view, you can look at it from an objective point of view, and you say, okay, I failed. I didn't handle it quite right. I handled it better than I used to, but still not quite right. So you'll just see that. Okay, it's not so bad. Okay, but now you have access to something called the light, spiritual light. Okay, when you do the little meditation that I have, the little free meditation, I've given it two names. It's the same meditation. I either call it the prayer meditation, and I also call it the easy meditation. Okay, you sit quietly, close your eyes, and look at the inside of your eyelids. And when you look at the inside of your eyelids, you'll observe a little bit of light there, little sparkly light, little patterns of light. Okay, a warm glow. It's not pitch black. There's a little bit of light there. See, and then you also will then become aware of your hand or your hands till your hand feels warm. You're extending the connection with that light, the nearness to that light. You know, like when you you get close to a nice, it would say it's a really cold day, and then you come in the house and there's a nice fire in the fireplace, okay? Or the heater is there, and you get close to the fire or close to the heater, you know, and you feels good, you know, you warm your hands, okay? Feels good, warmth. So you're extending the warmth of that light. Now, what is that light? That's a light from God, okay? In the New Testament, it talks about the Christ light. There's a beautiful passage in the New Testament. If it's translated properly, like from the King James Version, it says that Christ will give you light. Christ will give you light. Okay, I think it's Paul. I think maybe the Corinthians. One of the his letters to the Corinthians. He says, "Awake, awake." Okay, and Christ. He said. Then it says, "Christ will give you light." It's just so beautiful. So there is light. So now here's the bottom line. I want to keep this video not too long. When you make contact with that light, even if only for a second, okay, you spend most of your time, you're lost in thinking, lost in worries, lost in this, lost in that, lost in music, lost in everything that pulls on you from the outside and then from the inside, okay? But if you meditate a little bit and you make contact with that light for just a second, even that 1 second of contact, or half a second, okay, of contact with that light, you already are better off than you were. You already will get something from it that enters you, and then will begin to do good in your life, will do good within your being, okay, and will alter you for the better. Just a momentary contact with that light, see? So when you meditate, if your thoughts come very heavily, you know, and you find yourself daydreaming about what you're going to do during the day and making plans and so forth, okay, so then you just snap out of that imaginary ersatz reality, and now you're back in reality, in real reality again, looking at the inside of your eyelids, sitting quietly, and you make contact with that light again, see? Okay? So a little bit, even just a tiny bit, will already alter you for the better. Okay? All right, well, I'm going to make an end to this video because I don't want to go on too long. Okay? All I can say is that if you really ought to give the meditation a try if you haven't. Okay? It could do you a world of good. My name is Pastor Roland.